Here you go, Ryan. A little, and this is all three of us are guilty of this with all the technology in the world and your cell phones and everything. Here's what it ultimately boils down to:
Comes down to
scrap
paper.
paper next to your desk.
The
There it
national,
is.
the national team, the biggest
The
card,
short.
the gentlemen that run the biggest card show in the world have paper and pencil for notes on
Sticky
how to run
notes
the
and
best card
scrap
show in the
paper.
world.
That's it. That's right.
All right, guys, we are back today for another episode with some very, very special guests. An interview I am very honored and privileged to be a part of today. We have the national team here for the NSCC, the National Sports Collectors Convention show management team, and their communications director are joining us today 10 days before the biggest card show in the world takes place in Chicago. They are joining us today to talk all things about what to expect here in Chicago in just a few days' time. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm sure you guys are super busy, so thank you guys so much for joining us here today.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Be here.
So let's real quick. I would just love to, I have gotten the privilege and pleasure to know you gentlemen for a little while now, but for anyone in the audience that doesn't, I know you guys have run some of the biggest card shows in the country before taking on the show management team here at the National. Can I get a little quick synopsis, little background info on, you guys real quick, just so we can share that with the audience?
Sure. Yeah, I'll speak for Jimmy and I real quick. Jimmy and I we managed and ran and owned the White Plains Card Show, which is based out of New York, and Hofstra University, which is based out of Long Island, New York, and we owned and operated those shows for 20 years. In November of 2024, we've sold that business to a promotions company called Lucky Promotions, and now they're keeping the tradition of the shows going forward. We have that show has a 43 year history of running shows, but we have about 150 to 175 3-day shows under our belt outside of our accomplishments at the National.
Wow.
Yeah. For me, I'm about 10 years in now to show management. I started out in Chantilly, Virginia at the CSA shows, which runs 3 times a year as well. Just like the New York shows, Jimmy, Brian, and I have been friends for decades. We always collaborated together through the years to make sure that our show schedules didn't conflict with each other. We always bounced things off of each other to help facilitate running good shows. I currently am still owner of the Philly show. A lot of people know about the Philly show. We're celebrating our 50th year this year at the Philly show. Again, another large regional show that takes place 3 times a year. And just to speak to size, Jimmy and Brian and myself, the shows that we run are north of 150,000 square feet. Again, many years of experience here, and we joined the national team a couple of years ago. We were behind the scenes for a year or so, getting our feet wet, so to speak, acclimated to the environment. And last year was our first year as the official show management team for the National in Cleveland, and we're really excited about Chicago this year. So,
Brian did a great job summing up himself and me with the promotions business. 20 years partners, long time to run shows together. Had a lot of fun doing it, and now on to the next, the biggest and best show.
Yep.
So you guys obviously have some major experience running some of the biggest card shows in the country. But last year was your first time running really the biggest card show in the country, in the world, the Super Bowl of card shows, the National. What did you learn in the first one? Like, what was one of those takeaways each of you might have had that you're looking to implement here the second time you're running the show in our first of 3 years in Chicago?
I mean, we learned that moving up to the national level, we moved up to a production level as opposed to a show level. It's just so many moving pieces, so many people involved. It becomes a production to put the national on. And this year we were lucky enough to be able to get a larger space than Cleveland, and able to expand the show, getting some new dealers in this year to help the waiting list. That's been lengthy for the National and still is lengthy for the National, but at least we were able to open up an area upstairs in Hall G with 75 more tables to get some of the waiting list into the show.
I learned that my body can do 35,000 steps in a day and still function.
Very well said. Very well said. Yeah, last year we had some 12, 14, 16-hour days, and day after day after day after day, and it was just, I mean, sleep was hard. I mean, getting up in the morning was hard. Just getting to the show, it was just an overwhelming amount of work.
And just to touch on what I said before, Jim Bryan and I have been 20 years, me 10 years, but, I've known these guys for more than 20 years. And, we've always just been open books with each other. So, what we learned was what we learned from each other, growing our own shows sort of, parallel with each other and always just being good partners to each other, even before we became partners in this venture. But in all honesty, like, it's a much bigger version of what we ran. But there are some elements that we actually just have to oversee. And what I mean by that is, for example, like the Autograph Pavilion, right? Where we have a great partner in TriStar who puts on an amazing event every year with just amazing guests. To touch on that real briefly, I mean, there's a who's who of everything from the best retired stars to half of the current 2025 Chicago Cubs are going to be there this year. But the TriStar Pavilion sort of runs itself. Like, we have to oversee it from a management side of things. But removing that element from the show really is helpful for us. It allows us to really hone in and focus on, what we care about, what everyone attending the National cares about, and that's the cards, right? The cards, the dealers. We all love cardboard. We all love cardboard. I'm going to let Jimmy
and the
throw
customers
out there. This is Jimmy's line. It's going to be a T-shirt at some point, but go ahead, Jim.
You're welcome to the largest candy store in the world. When you walk into the National, it's the largest candy store. That's our slogan.
Yep, cardboard candy store. There you go.
It's
makes me smile every time I hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it's to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, it's always been 500,000 square feet or more of collectibles in cards. And from my understanding, you've also recently grown that. You mentioned that earlier, Jim, that this is going to be bigger than Cleveland. My understanding is there's a 30% growth in space, now over 650,000 square feet. I guess I would ask you guys, like, what excites you most about adding 150,000 square feet to an already massive production?
I guess what really is exciting is, for the customers, there's going to be more dealers and more choices on the floor, more cards to look at. And it's exciting for us to get that waiting list reduced a little bit. I mean, everybody wants to do the show. It is nice to get some fresh names into the show and have more options on the floor for the customers. Because the show is about, as Joe said, it's about the dealers and the cards on the floor.
Yeah.
Now you have more dealers and more cards. Come bring a comfortable pair of sneakers and bring something to eat in your backpack and spend a few days, because that's what it's going to take.
100%.
Yeah, Ryan, a lot of people don't realize, like, we're card geeks, man. We're nerds. We love it. We live it. This is what we do. We not only run shows, but Jimmy still actively sets up at a lot of the bigger regional shows because he loves it. He really just truly loves it. He adds stuff to his collection. He'll text me at a show if it's one I'm at. He'll make me come over and see something that he picked up. He'll tell me this one's going in the vault. Like, we're part of the community. Truly, like, we're out there. You'll see us on the floor. Feel free to we take suggestions well. We take criticism pretty well. And, we want to learn. We want to grow. But, we really are truly entrenched in it. We all have our own personal collections, and we really just enjoy it. Like, we really, truly do. And it's fun. It's fun to have this lens, to see the hobby this way and know, like, that we've been dealers. A lot of people don't realize that we were set up right there just a few short years ago. Just to let people know, like, we had multiple booths that we relinquished in 2022 to allow vendors on the wait list to get in, and also we knew we couldn't do it all. So that's just a little bit of background on us. We're right in there with you guys. We get the passion. last year we refrained from shopping on the floor. I mean, Jimmy actually did shop when him and I were walking around, and he forgot to pick the card up. Luckily, we knew the dealer, but he found a really cool premium Babe Ruth card that's pretty hard to find, and he was pretty excited. He's like, we're walking back, and he's telling me, and then he forgot to go get the thing. So, anyway, just a little side story about our passion for the hobby and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, again, full transparency, I learned, Joe, I've probably known you the longest just through the, Chantilly show and through Philly. And, since you guys became, the show management team, last year, and, we got connected last year. I think that's one thing that I've really learned and respected so much about you guys. You touched on it around the transparency piece. Like, you're very open about, like, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, this is why we're doing it. It's never been really like a secret. I feel like that's always been something I've appreciated. It's just the transparency around, like, why things are the way they are and what you're trying to accomplish. But also, like, you guys are not, like, while you run shows, like, you're also a major part of the hobby. This is not something that is, you're new to the space, like, you don't know about the space. Like, you're very entrenched in the hobby and have that hobby mindset with this show. And I think that would lead me to my next question. Jim, you said it earlier. You mentioned we've got 650,000 square feet now. We're getting more people off the wait list. Everybody wants in this show. I'm sure you guys know that better than anybody. Anybody and everybody in cards wants to be at this show. This is the mecca for sports cards. So how did you knock down some of that list? You mentioned 20%, I think, around were removed from the waiting list. You're actively trying to get more people in there. But how did that happen?
So we got the okay to expand the show this year, but also to get into the national, a dealer that wants to set up has to fill out a letter of intent. You need to go to the website, download a letter of intent, send your letter of intent, and that places you on the waiting list. Cannot stress enough. Don't call Jimmy, don't call Brian, don't call Joe and say, hey, get me a table. Doesn't work that way. Even though we love all you guys, we've known you guys forever. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. We got to fill a letter of intent out, and we got to get you on a waiting list. So that's the most important piece of paper you're going to sign for a long time. Get that thing filled out in advance. Basically, it's, when you went down the waiting list, people had their letter of intent in first. You started calling people from number 1 on the waiting list to number 75 on the waiting list. And there's actually about 115 more dealers at this show than Cleveland, because this building was bigger. So there's like 40 more booths on the floor plus the 75 tables upstairs. So we were able to shorten it down quite a bit.
And can you briefly highlight, for those that might not know, this is the first time, I've been to the National since 2009. I've never seen additional tables upstairs. Talk to me around what that will be like and really how that came about.
So if you have not pre-purchased your tickets ahead of time for the National, general admission is going to be upstairs. So upstairs, when you go up and you buy your general admission tickets, then you will actually enter and exit through the 75 new tables upstairs. We're trying to create traffic flow upstairs. We are creating traffic flow upstairs for the 75 tables, along with all the signage that'll be saying more tables upstairs. But you will get a lot of bodies upstairs going through the tables upstairs. It's a starting point for dealers. Yep. Joe did a great job touching on this a couple days ago, where we have 3 different kinds of setups now. We have the 10 by 15 booth, we have a 10 by 10 booth, and we have 8-foot tables. First time ever have 8-foot table setups. And Joe, I'll let you explain that. You did a great job explaining that the other day.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's sort of groundbreaking space, right, Ryan? To your point, upstairs, it's no man's land in years past, right? So there's 200,000+ square feet up there, and Jimmy touched on the basics. And again, just to reiterate, a 10 by 15 was always a standard booth at the National. It's 150 square feet, comes with 3 tables. It's quite a bit of space, and traditionally, vintage card dealers, guys that have been around a long time, we tend to pack a lot of stuff in our car, and we want to bring it all. And as things have modernized, guys walk around now with the Zion case or a small backpack full of stuff, and they don't necessarily need 10 by 15. So again, we're really excited about that. That may seem like a small element, but it's something that we're really excited about, to have that variety of space. And then again, with the upstairs, we're breaking new ground up there, right? So we have all this space, the 75 vendors. We're going to do everything we can to push people in their direction, to visit them. we have lots of ideas for that space, expanding international, expanding TCG Pokemon, potentially bringing some corporate partners up there to activate. So we see bigger and better things in 2026 for that space. That's a good segue also into, I don't know if we're too early here to jump onto this, but we have a partnership that we're really excited about that I'll let Shane speak to, that space could become really valuable. It's our youth collectors initiative. So, Shane, if you want to jump in there and maybe take the reins with that, I don't know if that's a good segue or not, but
for sure.
There you go.
It's a fine segue. Like so this is really exciting. It's the first time the National has done anything like this, but let me set the stage for you, Ryan. The National really is the vanguard of the hobby. As you mentioned, it's the biggest card show, in the U.S., probably in the world, and they really want to make sure that they're investing in the future of the hobby. And, part of that investing in the future of the hobby is what they talked about regarding expanding the footprint, bringing more dealers in. But another part of the investment in that future is younger kids, right? Getting new generations excited about cards. And the good news is some of that's already happening. Like, we looked at data from Chantilly and Philly from the last couple of years for the kids trade nights program that those shows have been running. And just in the last 2 years, we've seen a 30% increase in the number of kids that are participating. So that's a really good marker.
For sure.
But we don't want to sit on our hands and just let it happen on its own. We want to be a part of it. And so we decided to create what we call the Youth Collector Clubs Initiative, powered by the National. And we are piloting that this year in Chicago in partnership with a good friend of ours, Curtis Granderson, who you probably know, ex-Major League Baseball star with the Yankees and the Tigers and the Mets, and the list goes on. Curtis is a Chicago native, and he's back here now. He runs an organization he created called the Chicago Baseball and Educational Academy. And he uses baseball basically as the carrot to bring kids into a college setting. So he's at the University of Illinois Chicago, which is where he played ball in college. And he's got a stadium named after him now, Curtis Granderson Stadium. And he uses baseball to introduce kids to college environments as well as potential career paths. He's real big on the educational piece of it. We know card trading. We know it really well. We know some of the skills that you learn as a result of card trading. So think about like entrepreneurialism, capitalism, community building,
For sure.
Interpersonal communication skills. These are all things that you learn as a result of learning the art of card trading. And so we wanted to bring this idea to Curtis. We said, what if we can create a program with you where we use card trading as kind of a proxy to teach kids all these life skills and career skills? He loved the idea. We formed a partnership. Last Thursday, we launched that partnership at UIC at Curtis Granderson Stadium with about 50 kids, mixture of boys and girls, all high school age. We did a card trading 101 lesson for them. We've built an entire curriculum. A good friend, Samuel Evans, who you may know, who's big in the card trading space. He's also a public school educator out of Philadelphia. He put the educator's lens on this and has built an entire curriculum around card trading based on some of the principles I was talking about. So we kicked that off on Thursday of last week. We're going to bring a small cadre of kids to the National in 2 weeks, and they're going to get a real big immersion experience of experiencing the National and everything that it's to offer. So that they can start to understand what it looks like in the context of a show like this. It's going to be an amazing experience for these kids, and then we're going to continue building this program over the next 3 years. With Curtis, ultimately, we want this Youth Collector Clubs initiative to be something that we can bring into any city that we go to, and it's really something to leave behind as a legacy. So the guys are really proud of it. The board's really proud of it. I'm super excited to be a part of it. And we're looking forward to talking to more people about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, we talk a lot about it with our content here, just about like having something to, we've got to have a younger generation to pass this on to. The hobby is changing so much, and the youth in this space is so important. So to see the National take on an initiative like that to really put this hobby at the forefront for the younger generation is just amazing. And Joe, you made a point earlier, and I think that's what goes through my head is a couple things around like the upstairs that Chicago has that other venues like Cleveland, Atlantic City, I guess I shouldn't speak to Atlantic City, but Cleveland didn't have, is the ability for growth in the same building, right? 75 tables upstairs gives dealers on the wait list some opportunity to display at the National, which many people want. But it also leads to more growth opportunities with initiatives around kids, corporate partner growth. The hobby has expanded so much in the last decade. There's probably plenty of corporate sponsors that can't get in. I think that's what's so nice about Chicago is with that upstairs, we've got this ability to grow so much in the same venue, especially knowing that we're now here for 2 more years after 2025.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
So, again, going back to, Joe, you mentioned there's a lot of great topics here you guys have brought up in the last couple minutes. I want to kind of highlight some of them. You mentioned, the vintage dealers bringing as much as you can in a car to get that stuff out for sale. You want to bring as much as possible. But how do you guys navigate the challenges of balancing the tradition of the hobby with the new emerging trends, right? Younger collectors, the rise of digital collectibles, live streaming being so big. How do you guys balance like trying to grow with some of those things as well as like the tradition of what this hobby is and what the National is?
I mean, I guess what I would say there, Ryan, is that we have 49 corporate partners this year, and they all do a really outstanding job of facilitating exactly what you're talking about, right? Companies, I don't want to not mention anybody, but companies like Whatnot or eBay or even Topps Fanatics, they're even Heritage Auctions, like they're all moving the needle forward by not only the product lines that they carry. I mean, Heritage Auctions is a good one, and all the auction houses for that matter, Robert Edwards. They all are expanding what they're carrying and bringing to the forefront, which exposes it to the entire community, right? So, like you said, if modern cards are really sizzling at this point and it's being more exposed, you get more opportunity to see it and learn about it, right? Vice versa with vintage, right? I noticed when we walk the floor now, some of the modern card guys have a sprinkling of vintage in there, which is super cool. It's really, really cool and fun to see. Yeah. As far as the digital side, the breaker side, the Breakers Pavilion is run by Ripping Wax, David Gelfman, who does a fantastic job doing that. Those companies are basically self-policing themselves. They're one-upping themselves. They're challenging themselves. And those are some of the beautiful things that are happening organically inside of our space. And, I'll touch on card value, right? We like to talk about card value because, us dinosaurs that have been around forever, when we used to walk a show floor and either if we were buying or selling, the margins were 40-50% of market, right? You didn't have that access necessarily to be able to hold your phone over a card and look up comps in seconds. But if you were going to get an offer of 40-50% of value, that was a pretty good offer 7, 8, 10 years ago. Now we're seeing trends where 70-80% is like the bare minimum, right? Guys are competing, posting signs. I even saw some signs recently at some of the regional shows where guys were paying over comp for really rare pieces, really good vintage pieces with great eye appeal, great centering. So those exciting things are what advances things forward, right? The liquidity. Liquidity is there, right? It's real. You can walk in, Brian likes to say, and this is a great one, bring your cards. Bring your doubles, bring your triples, bring them because they're cash, right? You can turn that into cash if you need it. You can turn that into money to put back onto the floor to expand into those new spaces that are bringing things forward. So those are some of the things I would say, to answer your question.
I think trade night too is obviously another aspect where we put our arms around it and we brought it in house, and we're allowing it to grow by creating departments in there and creating special opportunities, and it's running for three nights, and it has a unique look and feel, and it has sponsorships. So you take that too, and company everything that Joe said, and the addition of the tables, which obviously allows for transition both for people that are starting to exit the hobby versus people that are starting to onboard in the hobby, or people that are just on the waiting list trying to get in. So I think there's just a good dynamic of various different vehicles to help make all this swirl.
What is one thing, as you guys are putting the show together, what do you think is one thing you guys are doing to kind of improve this show that maybe most everyday collectors wouldn't really be thinking about, that you guys are like, this would improve the show?
Well, I guess obviously customer experience. We'll just talk about the basics of getting people in and out. We're working on workflow of getting people in through the doors as fast as we possibly can, and all the amenities that associate with it. I think the show speaks for itself between autographs, case break, cards trade night. If it's basically, if it's been made, it's at the show, per se. For us, it's all about just marketing and ancillary things, and again, just improving the customer experience to the best we can, and continually working on that year over year.
The Ludex show map is a great addition to the show.
For sure.
Allows customers to find out where they are on the floor, get some organization. Yes, you can't search down to the card you're looking for, but at least you can search for vintage, modern, autographs.
100%.
Categories. I think there's about 10 or 12 categories you can search for. So at least that gives you a little bit of direction. If you're a vintage person, maybe you want to go see all your vintage first and then go look at some new cards and see what else is out there too. But you can focus a little bit by using the Ludex map. And the other option is to just, look at the aisle signs and just go in order up and down every row and take it all in. That's the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and I think to Ryan's question too is like Ryan touched on it, but the trade nights are really all-encompassing at this point. We've reached out to all of the smaller niche type of markets that are there, the F1s, the wrestling, the soccer, and we've invited them in under the umbrella of the National Trade Night. Guys, come on in. Come on in. We have a section for you. We have a night for you. We'll highlight it for you. We'll introduce what you guys are doing to the general community. So those are the things, right, is making the National all-encompassing and welcoming for everybody. We want you to walk in that front door. It's going to be overwhelming no matter how. But to Jimmy's point about the Ludex map, you can find your sweet spots and navigate the show in an order where you can be efficient with your time. But you can also be exposed and introduced to all other avenues and areas of collecting, and that's what I think moves the needle forward is making it welcoming and not like an exclusive type of a club where you need some point of entry. The point of entry is grab your buddy who collected cards 10 years ago and is curious, and you guys are out at dinner one night and he's asking you about it. Bring him along. He'll be fine. He'll love it. There's going to be something on that floor that's going to strike a chord in his memory bank from when he was a kid, and he's going to be like, wow, this is really super, super cool. Because there's no cost, right? Once you pay, and that's the other beauty of the National is the National, there's no better value, right? The price of admission of the National compared to regional shows around the country is second to none for what you get for the bang for the buck. The VIP passes are currently sold out for 2025, but we do still have day passes, which are $30. Kids are free, 12 and under. They always have been. Military is free. A lot of people don't realize that military is free as well. And then also the 5-day pass. The 5-day pass is the best hidden gem out there. If you're going to go to the show for 2 days, you buy a 5-day pass, trust me. And the reason that is you get in an hour early. And that 1 hour early that you're going to hit the show floor is going to be really worth it. It's going to pay for itself. Oh, yeah. So those are just a couple of little tips that just popped into my head that I wanted to share.
Yeah, I mean, the we talk a lot about that with preparing for the national, about getting in early, especially if you're going to try to plan out doing grading or some of these show promotions. The ability to get in line before the majority of people for the day is such a big one. But I think that, again, that I would go back to like the transparency of the show, and you guys as the management team. I remember last year just around hearing some of the efforts you guys are, some of the things that go into like improving Wi-Fi in the show, right? Like, I think that's a thing I've talked about before, is like, I don't think most people understand the efforts and the lengths you guys go to make that work. And I've always said, it's like, the national team doesn't want it to not work. They want it to work. They want it to, be amazing. And they are going, I can promise you, they are going to great lengths to make sure it is great. And, Brian talked about it with that show experience, like the ins and outs, the Ludex map. I've highlighted that before. That thing is amazing. You can search by dealers and categories, and there's logos on big brands. It's you guys have done, hats off to you guys. There's been a lot of major improvements that, I think I didn't really notice until we started really seeing some of these things as we talk about preparing for the national. You really start to look at it, and it's like, this is definitely improving the collector experience when they come to this show.
Yeah,
Great.
For sure. And we have a great team too. We really do. We have a great team behind us, that's helping us, like we mentioned, David Marino running the trade nights for us, David Gelfman, with the Breakers Pavilion, the Ludex map, lots of great things. One of the other hidden gems, for the dealers out there that are watching this that have space, we do have a dealer party on Tuesday that we started last year. It's a welcome party. It's a chance for dealers to hang out together before everything gets crazy. That takes place at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. So, if you're a dealer at the show, we highly recommend you stop by and say hello. We've got food and drinks for everybody upstairs. It's located right where the trade nights take place. So that's another little tidbit that maybe not everybody's aware of, that we would love to see you guys, shake your hand, talk to you for a minute, take some suggestions. So, that's another positive that I think, we're really putting effort into, and I think we're doing good there.
Speaking of positives, there's a big one. I know that we've got a sweepstakes going on this time. It's got a Jordan rookie, a 51 mantle. Tell me more about the sweepstakes, what it is, and ultimately who it benefits.
I mean, I'll start off. It's a benefit for St. Jude's and Make-A-Wish Foundation, and so last year we had an auction that was hosted through Pristine Auctions, and we had 44 items to commemorate Cleveland and our 44th event over there, and it was a wonderful auction. We did well. This year we decided to steer it a little differently, and we're offering as the sweepstakes prizes are a 1951 Mickey Mantle SGC 5 rookie card with a market value of approximately $30,000, and a 1986 Michael Jordan Fleer Michael Jordan rookie with the market value of $20,000. It's a PSA 9, and lastly a landscape painting done by Murray Henderson, one of our corporate sponsors, which he donated, which has a market value of $12,500. And all the information for the raffle could be found on our website. We'll have prop-ups with QR codes throughout the show, and it's a $25 minimum donation. You can also enter as many times as you like, up to 40 times. And the winner on August 6th, all the winners will be announced through our software called SweetP. And some people, will have the ability to take away some great prizes, and all the proceeds, everything, the money invested, on top of all the dollars collected, are going equally to both Make-A-Wish and St. Jude's. So we encourage everybody to enter. It's a initiative that we're proud to be a part of, and we find it very exciting to be able to have a raffle where your prize is a Mickey Mantle card, and not a trip to the Marriott, and some of these other sweepstakes that we see out there. So it's a different spin, and we're really proud, and we're looking to advance it next year.
Amazing, yeah, an opportunity to use the national voice and you know, brand to give back to such a great cause with some of the coolest, most iconic cards, you know, in the entire industry, and an amazing, you know, amazing painting from a show vendor as well. So, props to again to you guys for some of these, you know, amazing initiatives and amazing efforts for what you guys have done in just again such a short period of time. As I wrap it up here, obviously I value your guys' time. I'm sure you guys are insanely busy with, you know, 10 days to go at this point. I want to ask one final question, and that is, you know, with so many emerging card shows in this space, but the National's always been at the forefront of that space. How do you see the National evolving and continuing to lead and grow the hobby?
I think it's just by doing exactly what we're doing. You know, staying in the trenches, partnering with great people like yourself who want to push this message forward, and just continuing to work at it 365. I mean, that's how big this business is now, right? It's a I don't know how many billions of dollars the business is generating now, but it's 7x24, and the customer right now want it all. They can't get enough of it. So it's our job in the position that we're in to just be a good mentor, a good partner, and put on the best product we possibly can.
I would say it's never lose the vision that the show's about the dealers and the customers. Collectibles.
Very well said, Jim.
Yeah, a lot
Very
of the
well
growth
said.
is organic. Yeah, and a lot of the advancements that the show makes are organic. You know, the beauty of the show, is the cardboard.
Yeah.
You know, is
Absolutely,
the candy
yeah.
store. You know, that's the beauty of it. So, you know, I don't know that there's anything magic that we're looking to sprinkle over the top, other than continuing, like Brian said and Jim said, the path forward that we see in front of us, and kind of taking cues from the hobby community, right? The hobby community kind of dictates, you know, what you want, and it's our job to accentuate it and make the experience the best possible that it can be, and that's what our focus is. But it's always going to be about the cards, the cardboard, and the candy store. Like that's the secret sauce, you know, and the value, right? The value for the National, again, you know, when you look at the costs compared to other regional shows, and this is not a knock on any regional show. Like I said, Jimmy, Joe, and Brian run regional shows, right? So there's value there. There's community there, and it's the hub, right? It's the place. Like, we all look forward to it, every one of us. You know, the minute it's over, you know, we're already looking forward to next year. You know, and Brian, Jim, and myself are planning 3 years out. You know, and that's another thing that we didn't really touch on. You know, we're
Yeah, you want to touch on that?
location. We're choosing a location for 2028, so we can unveil that to you, that the vote happens at the show, and we're really pressing hard, and we think we're going to be able to pull it off, that we're going to be able to announce the new location on Sunday. Hopefully that's the goal, you know. So hopefully on Sunday, if everything goes according to plan, we'll be able to make an announcement, and everybody will know where we're going to be, and it's going to be a new city. It's going to be either Atlanta or it's going to be Detroit, and both of those facilities are state of the art. They're beautiful, and we're really excited about both of them.
They'll both be making presentations on Tuesday night at the dealer welcome party. So they'll both be doing about approximately 15-minute presentations. Both cities will stay there then for a few hours, be set up behind tables for dealers to walk up and ask questions to.
Yep.
Sometimes people don't want to ask a question in front of 500 people. They want to ask it quietly on the side. So we have the option of the presentation, and then to talk to the representatives from each city also that night. And then dealers then will vote when they pick their tables. When they go to booth lottery, they pick their tables. So, like Joe said, we're hoping to have everything wrapped up where we can announce it before the weekend's out. Announce it on Sunday would be great to announce it.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to go to that last year for that voting process. And again, I think that's the one thing I leave this conversation with is, you know, I just have appreciated so much of the transparency that you guys provide, the willingness to take time, you know, 10 days before you're putting on this major production for the biggest card show in the world. You're available to chat. You're using the brand, the show to, you know, bring some real good in this space and, you know, the world. It just, again, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on here, spending the time so close to the show. So thank you guys again for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you guys here in 10 short days in Chicago.
Thanks, Ryan.
Absolutely. Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
we look
Thank you,
forward to
Ryan.
seeing you too.
We appreciate you
good.
too, Ryan.